The final primary motivator somebody typically has to share something on Facebook, when you really break it down psychologically, is actually, hey friends, a while back I did an episode about how I made 6 figures on Facebook back in the day. And you can go watch that episode after this. I will put it at the end of the video and link it below. But I got some questions in response to that video if I could go into further depth on how to build your Facebook page and how to grow quickly and, most importantly, well, get the kind of audience you want on Facebook. So I thought I'd sit down and tell you kind of the long and short of it. I have a lot of experience. I have multiple Facebook pages. My largest Facebook page has 250,000 followers, but I have another that has 6-figure presence, and I have several others that are 5 figures. I've made quite a bit of money on Facebook, both directly through their bonus program, like I talk about in another video, and also indirectly through selling products, promoting my Patreon page, and various other endeavors. So before we get into everything, I want to talk about the 2 different kinds of Facebook pages. The first type is your personal page. So the one that you use with your family and friends, the one that's linked to you as a person. Facebook also has a functionality where you can do a business page. So you can make a page for your business and have that be your business's personality, your brand's presence online. When I'm talking about building your Facebook page today, I pretty much mean your business page. But if you're looking to promote your personal page, and actually the bonus page allows the monetization of personal pages as long as you are in professional mode, you have to go into the settings and turn that on. A lot of the principles that I'm talking about in today's video actually applies to either one. So this is just kind of general laws of social gravity, if you will, when it comes to Facebook. And as I talk about a lot of this, I will kind of contrast Facebook and YouTube, and I will do my best to be friendly to people who have more experience with one or the other. But ooh, what a challenge. Can I do it? Stay tuned. And as I give this advice, I have been working seriously on Facebook since 2016 is really when I started making a push to do business online. And other than my website, the first big online presence I had was with Facebook. So a lot has changed since 2016. Most of what I'm saying today will reflect the current state of things. However, in the last 6 months to a year, Meta, the parent company of Facebook, has been experimenting more with AI. And between that and the performance bonus program of the last couple of years, and the fact that you can directly monetize on Facebook, there has been kind of a shifting landscape. As a caveat, some of my close friends, my husband, has noted that in Facebook's organic algorithm, they've been pushing more random pages, not pages that people are following or your friends feed as much. My husband actually had to dig and look for a settings change so he would see more of his friends' feed. So all of this advice presupposes that Facebook doesn't become a huge mass of AI and rando page feeds. It's not guaranteed these days, but classically, here's the advice. And I actually think that a lot of this will still apply in new Facebook if you're savvy about it. So with all that said, let's dive in. Okay, so the first thing you really need to know about Facebook is that the algorithm, the organic robot that serves up content, is a lot less important on Facebook than on YouTube. What's interesting about YouTube, and this was a big culture shock I had when I got here, is that you can post content on YouTube, and if it meets certain parameters, if it spurs certain user behavior, especially in the first test groups as it's figuring out your channel, you can get fed out to lots of strangers just based on the strength of the content. I have not found that to be the case on Facebook whatsoever. When I started on Facebook, even when I was posting very good content, when my page was small and I hadn't built up an audience, it was very difficult to get organic exposure through the Facebook algorithm. And there's a reason for that, which brings me to my next point. The social sharing aspect of Facebook is a huge deal. With Facebook, you care more about getting people explicitly to share your work. So when they see your content, they go, oh geez, that's great. They like, they comment, they share, they interact with it. YouTube has interaction tools, it has the liking and commenting, but those are typically a less strong signal than whether users click through and how much they watch, whether they watch another video, that sort of thing. So you're really targeting people's explicit ideas about your posts with Facebook. I'll get a little bit more into that as we go down. So on YouTube, what you're doing a lot of times is you're creating a curiosity gap so that they will click and they will watch your work. And then once you get into the video, you're hooking them early in the video, making the beginning of the video compelling so people kind of stick around, and then you're making sure that you retain their attention and their focus and deliver value throughout the episode so that they watch your entire episode and they're eager for more. And then once that happens, the YouTube algorithm will love it and it will push it to new people. That's a way to just blow up on YouTube. Now, on Facebook, what you're doing is you're trying to give people a compelling reason to share the posts that you've made to their wall and to their feed, and to basically reblog it to their friends and family network. And there are a few different avenues for this, things that you can do to make that possible. And part of that is understanding that a person's Facebook feed has a psychological relationship with them. It's a way that they kind of communicate and present and curate to the people that are in their life. So one quick trick I've learned is if you post something that's really funny and that somebody will say, oh gosh, that's really funny, I want to look funny, I will tell this joke, they will share, and then it kind of becomes their joke by proxy, and then people are like, oh my gosh, you're so funny, you find these things. So if you can post something that will make a Facebook user think, I can look funny, I can be clever, I can get laughs from this, that'll get shared really fast. Another really great strategy is giving them complicated or complex words for a very nuanced or interesting idea that they don't have to say, but they agree with you. So this is kind of the this effect, where you post a bunch of stuff and you have this great argument and people go this, because they can make that argument without having to formulate the words. And then that way they're able to say something they really, really want to say, or something they feel like will impress their friends, and they'll share it. There's another category too that sometimes this has a negative connotation in the wild, but it is worth mentioning, and it is a very powerful effect. And that is sharing content that if they reshare it will make them look like a good person. So sometimes people will call this virtue signaling, to be derisive about it, but there's no shame in it. We all want to broadcast our values, and we want to appear to be a good person to our friends and family, whatever that is. So if you can provide some way for someone to share something that makes them look good, I mean, that's essentially what it is at the end of the day, is if your content, when shared to their wall, will result in a positive feeling for them, or the idea that it'll make them look good, that will help a lot. Another way you can do that is by making them look smart. This is kind of like the articulated point where you have a complex post or something that they say, this, I really want to get out, but it kind of applies to things that aren't necessarily hard to articulate. It just kind of makes them look smart. It's another thing. And the final primary motivator somebody typically has to share something on Facebook, when you really break it down psychologically, is actually the one that typically gets the most attention, but I have left it to last because it doesn't work as well as it used to, and it's not a great strategy anymore. It's more of a classic internet thing, and that is rage baiting. So that's when you put up something that makes people really angry, and it provokes a response. It gets people's attention. It's designed to anger people. Now, I do not do this. I refuse to do it. I'm ideologically opposed to doing it. But even if you're okay with that values-wise, there's some big research done on the emotional psychology of social media. It's about 10 or 15 years old now. But the long and the short of it is that there's something called emotional contagion in psychology. And essentially the idea is that feelings are contagious. This is true in everyday life. If you're around somebody who's in a bad mood, it becomes a lot easier to be in a bad mood yourself. I'm sure you've been there. Misery loves company, after all. But it's not limited to in-person interactions. It also happens online, and feelings can be transmitted through social networks just as they can in real life. And so they did a study on the various emotions and emotional and social contagion in social media networks. And what they found was the most contagious emotion online is rage and anger, and that people were most likely to transmit that, and it would end in huge reach, just outrage networks and whatnot, as opposed to something like sadness, which, if a post is sad, naturally speaking with emotional contagion, a sad post tends to spread the least. So there's this whole range of emotions. I actually go deeper in that research in a future episode if you want, but briefly let's talk about the rage for a little bit. So what they found with this rage baiting effect was that it was having obviously a negative impact on social networks. And Facebook explicitly changed their algorithm. And you'll hear people sometimes talking about this in meta terms in the wild. Just like, don't angry react on this post, it'll limit the reach. And there's a reason for that. They've dampened the rage effects because they wanted to offset that. Because as much as people want eyeballs and they want engagement online, that's not the sort of thing that advertisers want, and the content quality was going down, and it was just kind of a nightmare for rage. Here's the thing. Some people will argue that it happened way too late and that Pandora's box is open, the genie is out of the bottle, it's over. But I'm here to tell you that regardless how you feel about any of that, it is not as effective as it used to be. And furthermore, even classically, rage is great for comments and reactions, but not for shares, for pulling to your wall. And the thing is, with Facebook, comments and reactions, likes, loves, laughs, all of that, it's engagement. But when it comes to the weighting of how important different engagement is on Facebook, the most important user behavior is the share. That will expand the reach more than anything. Secondarily is the reaction, your like, love, laugh, cry, care. Am I missing one? Like, oh, and anger. That's second in the hierarchy. And the lowest form of engagement is actually comments. So the neat thing about sharing too is not only does it send a strong signal to the Facebook algorithm so you can start having some organic reach as well, what it does is it basically reblogs you onto somebody's page, and every share you have is another at-bat, another chance to reach the social network of your fan. And as people share beyond that, it's like the social network of your fans' social network, and it can kind of spiral from there. So that's about the motivation to share your work. Huge on Facebook. The next really big difference between YouTube and Facebook is that the time of day that you post is extremely important on Facebook. This is completely different than YouTube. So YouTube tends to prize evergreen content. If you look at the YouTube Studio, for the first 3 hours, they aren't even ranking you in 0 of 10. They don't have enough data. It's too early in the release cycle. Things are just very timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly when you first put out an episode on YouTube. And then I found a lot of times after that first 3 hours, before it ranks from 1 of 10 to 10 of 10 and gives me the basic stats, the next couple of days are another interval where I can see how I've done with CTR and all of that within the first couple of days. And then if I hit certain thresholds, it will push me out in a bigger flurry after that point. So it'll take a couple days sometimes for YouTube even to understand and really push out my video, even if it does well. This is so different than Facebook. On Facebook, the first 3 hours that a post is live is like its lifespan. Something like 90-95% of all of the engagement that you get. When it comes to the organic algorithm, the first 3 hours are really the only time that Facebook's gonna push your post. And then after that point, it's pretty much dead as far as the organic algorithm. If you see anything after that point, it's because of organic shares, especially if a large page, a much larger page, one with millions of followers, reshares your post, which has happened to me. That can happen later, somebody down the line discovering it. As far as the actual algorithm though, Facebook is not going to start pushing out your post a year from now. It's forgotten about you in 3 hours, the algorithm. Conversely, YouTube takes all that time to understand your videos. And I have seen it myself, and I've heard it from other YouTubers that they'll have an episode that they put out that basically flops when they put it out or does just okay. And suddenly, a year later, it's getting pushed out a lot, because YouTube has discovered that it's valuable to some viewer and it going out like gangbusters, and that happens all the time. That is not something that happens on Facebook. Just, it's not. So because of this, the time of day you post on YouTube doesn't really matter, and the days of the week can matter a little, but really not a lot. Facebook matters a ton. So when it comes to Facebook, there are best times and days to post, and that's really going to depend on what's going on. I will tell you what the current best times are. I'm going to put it on the screen here in a second, but there's a caveat here that this is going to change, and it has changed several times since I've started working with Facebook. And the reason it happens is that everybody figures out when it is and then it moves. So it's kind of a moving goalpost on it. I think it's good to have a schedule, just like you have a YouTube schedule. It's good to post on a schedule though, once you've decided what it is. And the next point about Facebook, I want to make this distinction clear. So when it comes to YouTube, you do not want to post the same thing over and over again on YouTube. Not only will it diminish your reach, because YouTube can tell, but if you do it all the time, you can actually get slapped with a reused or unoriginal content on your channel where YouTube just thinks you're a crazy spammer and it doesn't want anything to do with you. It's like, this is not a high quality channel. This is completely different than Facebook. On Facebook, not only can you repost and reblog your own content, but you should do so on the regular. And the reason is it dies after 3 hours. So depending on what the piece of content is or how much the page posts and what our schedule is like, I have some pieces of content that I post once a week. I have some that I post once a month, some that I post a couple times a year. It really all depends. And this is especially the case if I have something that was a hit. Yeah, that's another thing that's counterintuitive. People don't really realize this about Facebook. So you'll have some posts that do really well and some posts that don't. And let's say you have a post that was a tremendous hit and it got seen a lot, and you've got a post that flopped. So you got the hit and the flop. People will be like, oh man, the one that flopped, I really wanted that to get more traffic. I should post that again. And it'll flop again. And they'll get frustrated. They're like, what? Like, and they'll also have this fear at the same time that they can't repost the hit because it'll get overexposed, people get sick of it. I'm here to tell you, it won't. Repost the hit. Repost it. It'll hit again. Most of the time anyway. There's some variability and there's some luck involved, but the hits are much more probable to hit again. And it's very strange that people are like, well, but why? Like, it got overexposed. Why would people want that over and over again? And there's one thing you have to keep in mind here, and this is important with all social media, but especially with Facebook, is that your followers, your subscriber base, Facebook is not going to show your post to every single person. They're going to show just a few, and they're going to sample out of that. And people are busy and there's a lot of competition, and even people who are loyal fans of yours and really into you and follow you and everything, they're following a bunch of other pages. They've got their family and friends. They're busy. They're not online. The algorithm isn't pushing you after 3 hours. So the chance that you're going to hit any one of even your most loyal fans on Facebook with any one piece of content is actually very small. And if you're smart about how often you repost and how much other content you have, if you have like a varied schedule, a varied backlog of content, people aren't necessarily going to mind. The other thing is that Facebook will sometimes reblog posts from a little while ago. It does happen occasionally where you'll be on Facebook, you'll look and something's from like a week ago or a month ago or something like that. People, if they see your repost, they're not going to be like, oh, I saw this in April and it's July now and I see it again. They've been reposting. I hate them. Like, they don't know. For all they know, it was reblogged. They're like, oh, that joke's really funny. It's funny again. And with the reposting and reblogging strategy, I've never had a complaint about it. And so the next point is something, again, that's very different from YouTube. But your friends and family on your personal page are a huge asset on Facebook, much more than they are when you're trying to promote your YouTube channel. I actually did a whole episode about the pros and cons and some of the perils of promoting your YouTube channel using your friends and family network that I will link below for you. But on Facebook, it's really a strategy that has no drawbacks. It's pretty simple, and I would argue that it's really important on Facebook because that organic algorithm is so sluggish and so unmotivated compared to YouTube's. Now, you shouldn't view your Facebook friends and family as your sole customer base or your audience. You need to think bigger than that. But what your friends and family will do a lot of times, and this has been the case for me, is they will be the first people who see your content. What you do is you share your business page content to your personal page, and then it will get syndicated through your friends and family, through your feed, through your personal feed. And if you're good, if you're making good content, they will really appreciate it, like it, share it to their feeds, and then their friends and family will see that, and you'll get some of their social networks following your page, and you kind of go from there. You spread out from there. And that first group is really important. So don't sleep on sharing to your personal page from your business page. It is very important. And when it comes to Facebook, your friends and family are your first audience and customer base, and how you ultimately will meet your actual base. So do not sleep on it. Definitely, it is very key. I could talk forever on this. This is just the broad strokes on some of the ways that you grow on Facebook. If you want some more information about other strategies, feel free to ask in the comments. Anyway, it's been great talking to you as always. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.